Hi, it's me again. So the follow-up that I had already recorded, I can't say what I want to say the way that I say it. They just recently took down a video that I'd done last year going over that code that was established after World War II. You know, the one that says that you can't be forced to participate in an experiment. And, well, we see the repercussions of that participation now. But let me stick to my notes here. This is the silver lining. My intention was to lessen the panic. First of all, just knowing puts you ahead of those that are blissfully unaware. Although how many are blissful at this point? But, you know, every second, there's more and more people going, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Or, no, that can't all be coincidence. But they're not quite to the point of, holy shit, they've sabotaged us. But they're getting there. Now, there's a meme. I want to stick it in the back window of my car. It's a woman with the thing on that says, I'm just not ready to accept that everything I believed was a lie. Well, it was William Casey, who, you know, that ex-director of the three-letter agency. He said, we'll know our disinformation campaign is complete when everything Americans believe is a lie. They've been busy. So before we get into all this doomy-gloomy stuff, it's important to get your bare feet on the ground. Grounding, earthing, you can look it up. There's been lots of studies done by people that aren't funded that shows it helps to reduce inflammation. You know, we are electrical beings. We have to reground once in a while. Inflammation is the first sign of disease. And another thing that helps, I've started, even before I open my eyes some mornings, trying to list 5 things that I'm grateful for. There's something about an attitude of gratitude that helps to set the mood for the day. And as things start falling apart even faster, that's going to get harder and harder to do. But how many of you remember Georgie, you know, that Hungarian that's made his fortunes by collapsing currencies and world governments? He had said that for their new order, the West would have to fall. He said that the dollar would no longer be the world reserve currency and that the U.S. would no longer be a superpower. Again, they've been busy. Now, our dollar, Vlad just tied oil and gas to gold or the ruble. He said, if you want our oil and gas, you're going to have to pay in gold or rubles, doesn't matter. So he just killed our dollar. The only thing backing it was our oil and gas. Now that other countries don't have to have our dollars to pay for energy, all those dollars are flooding back home. So not only did they print it into oblivion, with all of that flooding back in, your dollars aren't going to be worth much for very much longer. In fact, that whole Fed reserve system is coming down. Some say it was designed that way. There's a channel, Truth Stream Media. They're doing a series called The Trust Game, which is detailing the history of that Fed system. Collapse after collapse after collapse. But it also talks about repudiation with we the people saying, that's not our debt. So, you know, with the whole system crumbling, there's supposedly alternative structures being built. And I'm not talking about the CBDC, the ESG system that they're trying to force us on. They're talking about a true asset-backed currency. But in the meantime, what do? Barter. And every other one of these collapses, it was bartering that got the people through. You know, there are some that say that seeds will be more valuable than gold. Now, I really hope that we're not talking about a glitch that lasts that long. But seeds, tobacco and alcohol, Everyday items that we take for granted that we can run to the store and get, like women's hygiene products that they say we're in a shortage of, toilet paper, things that aren't going to be there because everything's shutting down. If you understand how this Fed system has been built and how it ties into everything else, when they talk about the cabal, it's a criminal syndicate. The corporations, it's a big incestuous web of crony capitalism. Fascism, its definition is when government and corporations get in cahoots. Now, it's all coming down. It's all being exposed. The lies and manipulation, apocalypse, it's all coming to the surface. So, barter. Now, another big thing being exposed is our sick care system. I told you it used to be in my playlist, but his whole channel is gone. James Corbett at Corbett Report. It's CORBETT, CorbettReport.com. He did 2 videos. It's been a long time ago. How big oil conquered the world and why big oil conquered the world. It'll explain a big part, probably the majority, of what we're seeing. But there's a reason that we're all so sick. All of those things that are supposed to treat our illnesses, first of all, they're petrochemical, but they only mask symptoms. And those symptoms are your body's way of saying, hey, something's wrong. So when we take something to mask, then something else happens. It's a whole cascading effect. But each one of those things depletes minerals in your body. And those minerals are essential for enzymatic processes that keep you alive. And when you're not getting those things from your diet or whatever, your body will scavenge for it. That's osteoporosis and pretty much every ailment. Disease is caused either by physical damage, toxicity, or deficiency. And all of these things that we get from the guy in the white coat that stands up behind that counter above you, they all cause all 3 eventually. Which brings us to food. Let food be thy medicine. Well, our food, because our soil has been so depleted, the chemical industrial farming processes, our soil it's a microbiome. It's basically a living entity. And now our food is so deficient of any nutrition, it doesn't even have half the nutrition that I had growing up. It barely even resembles what my grandparents had. They produced their own food. So all of these diseases that we see, there's a reason for this. Now, there's a video in my playlist. It's Dr. Rima Laibow, Laibow. She sounds like a total nutter. I've come across that video probably 6 years ago. I was like, what? Look, open your eyes and look at what's happening. She talks about Codex Alimentarius, where these people got together and decided that they wanted control over everything that went into our mouths. Everything necessary for life. Water, soil, air, all of it. Well, all of this is being exposed. It has to be all restructured. And it's happening. Now, I'm off my notes already. See, what 2020 did is it showed us all of this. The people that are responsible, vindicating many of the voices that have been saying, hey guys, do you see this? Those that have been ridiculed and all but ostracized. They say, that this is the biggest I told you so ever. Most unsatisfying. But it showed us that this illusion that we accept as reality is so anti-human. What we thought was normal it's nightmarish, actually, when you see what they've done. And, there are days when you look at the enormity of the trap that we find ourselves ensnared in, that we built around ourselves, where you feel completely hopeless and think there is no way to get out of this. That's when you get your bare feet on the ground and you take a deep breath and you listen to the birds and the wind and realize you're alive. You've been put here for a reason. Now, I don't know how the ones that think we're all just an accident of chemistry and physics, but, we weren't supposed to live this way. It was hijacked. The curtain that they've been hiding behind is being opened. We can see who they were, who they are. All of these systems are crashing down around us, but they had to. They had to. So, as I told my husband, either we can all come together and stand with each other to figure out how to make this place better for our posterity, or these monsters win, and they're just going to kill me because I'm not going to assimilate into what they envision. And he agrees. And I would think that you do too, seeing what it is. I mean, they've told us. They've written all this down. They've told us what their plans for the future are. And it is absolute hell on earth. Absolute slavery. Track and trace under your skin. They'll tell you where you work. They'll tell you what you do. Every aspect of life will be controlled. Or we can come together. Yes, we've got a whole lot of problems. We can figure out how to deal with that later. But with what we're facing now, the things that have been done to us, the only way to stop this is to stand with each other. Or our children will not be able to. Because the system that they have it's already starting, is, as I said, it's absolute hell. We don't have to live that way. We can learn from history. This has been tried many, many times before. They didn't have the technology to pull it off like they do now. But we can learn all of this has been done before. We don't have to repeat it. We have way more in common than we have different. We can fix this. We just have to stand together. Much love.